I had previously seen the 2011 Winnie the Pooh feature film before, but it recently came to my attention that I'd never reviewed it. And I couldn't remember it well enough to discuss it without rewatching it, so I took the opportunity to watch it again, and I'm glad that I did because it is such a delight. The story is great, there's some beautiful animation, there's one moment that is just so ridiculously funny, and that moment I actually was aware of. I'd seen it circulating in social media recently, so I was aware of that, but the rest of it, I couldn't really remember in any great detail, so I was really glad to rewatch it. I really thoroughly enjoyed it, and I cannot recommend it enough. As I said, this was released in 2011. This is directed by Stephen J. Anderson and Don Huell, and we have a really brilliant voice cast. We have John Cleese narrating it. We also have Jim Cummings, Bud Luckey, Craig Ferguson, Jack Boulter, Travis Oates, Kristen Anderson-Lopez, Wyatt Dean Hall, Tom Kenny, Huell Howser, Lisa Linder Silver, and Robert Lopez. I wasn't planning on reading them all out, but there we go. It's not the largest voice cast, but we have some really brilliant voice acting and some really great character moments and a really fun story. Part of the story focuses on Pooh Bear trying to find some honey, but the main narrative involves the Backson. And this is because Christopher Robin has left a note that looks like it's signed from the Backson. And the characters begin to panic. They think that Christopher Robin has been kidnapped by this creature called the Backson, and we get to see the animation of what they think this character looks like. It's really fun, really creative, really brilliant design, and they decide that they have to try and find and capture this Backson in order to save Christopher Robin. And we have this really brilliant song about the Backson that they're all singing to motivate themselves to find it, and I have to say the song is very, very appealing. Definitely something that's going to be circling around my head for quite a while. And off they go to try and find it. And of course, we the viewer know that there is no such thing as a Backson. Maybe for young children, though, that won't be obvious. So it depends on the age of the viewer. But I don't think it's very scary. I say this because if a young child watching it maybe thinks that the Backson is real and they are looking for the Backson, then it might be a little bit scary because it is still this kind of monster character, but I don't think it's a particularly scary film at all. It's actually very bright and colourful, very funny. I will talk about my favourite funny moment in a moment with a spoiler warning. I will also tell you what the Backson is, just in case it's not completely obvious, but I will save that for spoilers. The narrative develops really well. It was a little slow to begin with. It took a little longer than I would have liked to get to the point of the Backson, but at the same time, the whole film is about an hour and 10 minutes, maybe an hour and 15, and I don't feel like it needed to be longer. I feel like it was the perfect length of time to tell the story, and I really thoroughly enjoyed the narrative. The animation itself is absolutely gorgeous. The animation in general is beautiful. We have a slightly different style when we get to see the Backson, and that's quite fun. And then we get to see some honey at one point. Pooh Bear is basically having withdrawal symptoms, and he starts to hallucinate, and the characters all turn into like honey pots, and he begins to hallucinate this beautiful golden honey, and it is absolutely gorgeous. The animation for that is so stunning. The animation for the whole film is beautiful, but the golden honey really stood out to me. Really fun film. Glad I had a reason to rewatch it. If you're a Pooh Bear fan and you either haven't seen it before or you haven't seen it in quite a while, I definitely recommend checking it out. So I now will, with a spoiler warning, tell you my favourite moment in the whole film and also what the Backson actually is. So spoilers from now. The Backson is quite simply the fact that Christopher Robin signed the letter back soon. He will be back soon. But of course they misread it as Backson. And Owl kind of realises this when everybody goes off at the start of the film. They go off to find the Backson. And at the end of the song, they sing the words, "They'll be back soon." And Owl acknowledges that back soon kind of sounds like Backson. So we're kind of planting that seed very early on that the Backson probably isn't a real creature, and that helps to make it a little less scary. Again, scary is too strong a word. It's not a scary film. But again, they are looking for a monster, which very young children might find a little bit intimidating. But the fact that Owl is making it quite clear, quite early on, that it probably meant back soon and not Backson, I think was a nice idea. Now for my favourite moment. I laughed out loud so much, and I actually saw this clip quite recently on, I I think Instagram, I can't remember exactly, somewhere online. And I hadn't remembered it from watching the film the first time. And I practically cried laughing. It is so, so funny, so well written. And then watching it now again, even though I knew what was happening, it was just as entertaining. And I won't tell you exactly what happens or share it all, but it's the it's the knot conversation. And we have various characters having a conversation about knots, but they cannot tie knots. And my favourite bit in the whole thing is when Rabbit goes, this is the only bit I'll spoil. There's more to it. There's more substance than just this. But Rabbit says something to the effect of, not. And Pooh says, who's there? And Rabbit just responds, Pooh! And it's just the cutest, most hilarious thing ever. I absolutely adore it. Fantastic, brilliant moment, really enjoyable film. If you haven't seen it or you haven't seen it in quite a while, I thoroughly recommend watching or rewatching the 2011 Winnie the Pooh.